All right. So I see people are starting to filter in. I was a couple minutes late, so I think that some people might be in the waiting room. So I see Sammy has joined. Hey, how's it going, Sammy? Welcome to the third and final day of the tour hacking workshop. Can you see me and hear me all right? I just want to make sure there's no tech kind of issues.
Absolutely.
Yes. So it looks like it's just you and me right now, Sammy. So let's just hang out. We'll wait for some more people to come in. But in the
Oh,
meantime, we might as well, hang out and have a conversation or something. So how's it going?
good. How's everything going with you?
Pretty awesome. We're down in Orlando, so it's pretty nice and sunny here most of the time. Where are you calling in from?
Michigan.
Michigan. Okay,
It
so
is
it's also
cold.
really warm there, right? Yeah.
No, it's cold.
Yeah. Like how cold are we talking?
I think it's like 22 degrees here. 22, 23.
Oh no, that is really cold. Wow.
Y- Yeah, it's freezing. I shiver in 70-degree weather, so this is not ideal.
Well, we got this big old state down here for you. If you ever feel like coming down.
Oh,
All
I've
right.
been to Florida. It's so nice.
It is nice. It is nice. Hey Maria, how's it going? All right, see we got Van, Sammy, Maria. Cool. So people are starting to filter in, so we'll hang out here. Not a whole lot, Maria. We just been hanging out. We've been talking about how nice and warm it is in Michigan right now. All right, so welcome to the Tour Hacking Workshop Day 3. So thank you so much for being a part of this and for all of your comments and your questions and letting me know, what your challenges are, what you're struggling with. Last couple of days, we talked about the strategy called, tour hacking. That basically is what my band used when we were first starting out, and it helped us to grow a fan base in new markets and to eventually, sell 24,000 CDs. I think right now we have something like over 22 million streams on YouTube and Spotify, and we've gotten to tour worldwide. And ultimately, what it all comes down to was the connection that we built with our fans. And I think one of the greatest ways you can build that connection is through this, this tour hacking method, which is actually meeting fans face to face when they're in lines for shows. So a big part of what we talked about was this analogy of being in tune with your super fans. So being in tune with them basically means they're walking around their day-to-day life. They're playing a C chord, like that's just kind of who they are. That's the frequency they're emitting, and usually they're not thinking about music like a whole lot, so it's kind of like a little bit quieter. And then when they go to shows, it's like they're playing like louder because it's just how they're resonating. And when we're not in tune with our fans, our super fans, then they're gonna be playing this nice chord, and then we're gonna come in, and we're like, hey, we're online, come check out our stuff. And obviously that's not what we want to do. So the best thing that you can do and what's going to ultimately drive your success as a musician is your ability to connect with the right fans. So what we've been doing is we've been getting really clear on how do you find the right fans? Like where do they hang out? How do you clarify who's going to enjoy your music? And how do you meet them? How do you connect with them? So yesterday we went through the exact framework and the exact step-by-step process of like what I would actually say when I walk up to fans in line. And one point that I really want to talk about here is that this whole thing, this approaching people standing in line, promoting your music, it's a skill. So it's not like the first time you do it, you're just gonna be Mozart. It's like, for example, if you're learning to play piano, you wouldn't just sit down and expect to play Mozart at first, but that it's a skill. You're going to get better over time. And I kind of see my role with this. And to be honest, it's not entirely like that because it's not like you've never talked to people before. It's not like you've never related with people and had a connection with them. So in a way, you've been playing piano, your whole life. And now I'm just kind of showing you the framework. I'm kind of like your teacher and your guide and saying, here's something that works really well for us, and I know that it can work really well for you too. But it is still a skill, and it's something that you're going to get more comfortable with over time. Like when you first do it, it's scary, and you're going to feel scared approaching people. And I experienced the same thing. And even just a couple months ago, when I wanted to go out and test this and make sure that it still worked before I taught it, I still felt the exact same thing. And again, I've toured worldwide, 20 plus million streams. Our band, has done some pretty cool things. And I still feel the exact same fear when I'm approaching people in line. So that's not something that necessarily goes away, but it is something that you get a lot more comfortable with. Like you get more comfortable with the fear. And it's the same thing with going on stage. Like that's something that one thing that I've sort of started to look at is in those, there's like good fear and there's bad fear, right? Like good fear is if you're in the forest and all of a sudden there's a giant grizzly bear and he starts chasing you, then your body is going to be like, oh shit, there is a grizzly bear chasing me. And it's going to pump adrenaline and you're going to run away. That's good fear. It keeps you alive. And then there's psychological fear. And that's the fear of getting up on stage and performing your songs. It's the fear of putting yourself out there and being rejected by another human being. And it's the fear of, showing somebody who you really are. And that's kind of the same fear that you're tapping into when you go and approach these people online. Because, in a big way, you're putting yourself out there. And that's one of the reasons that people, I think what you'll find is when you do that, people can see you being vulnerable and seeing you putting yourself out there like that, and they can admire it and they can respect it, as long as you're doing it in a way that you kind of have their permission to talk to them in the first place. Because that's one thing we went through yesterday, like really clearly, is exactly what to say and how to approach people so that you have a good interaction like that. But the fear doesn't totally go away, and that's okay. You kind of learn to see it more as just being like excited, and it's sort of like a compass. Like if something gives you that kind of psychological fear, it usually means like, okay, this is a step in the right direction. If it's something that's not going to actually kill you, then fear is usually a good thing. That it's like, okay, I should go do that. Oh, did Michael just swear? Fuck yeah, I did. Sorry, guys. This isn't a G-rated workshop. Okay. So another analogy that I want to use, and this is just something that I've been thinking about a lot lately, that I really like this metaphor, is for any goal that you have in your life, it's sort of like playing darts. Have you guys ever played darts before? I don't want to give you this metaphor if it doesn't land, if you don't understand it. But with darts, you have the dart board, and then you kind of have a ring on the middle, and then you have the bullseye. And the bullseye is where you want to hit, right? Like the bullseye gives you the highest score. It gives you the most value. And the thing is, when you first step up to the dartboard and you first throw, you're not necessarily going to hit a bullseye on the first try. And in a lot of ways, achieving your goals and being successful with your music career, I think it's really smart. A lot of people don't even have, their quote unquote dartboard in the first place. They don't really know what they want. Like they don't even know what a bullseye would be. And so, they're not playing darts. They're just sitting on the couch, watching Netflix or whatever, or they're blindfolded and they're just kind of throwing around and be like, I hope that this hits somewhere, somewhere good. Like the Cheshire Cat. If you don't know where you're going, anywhere will get you there. So first of all, it's really important to get clear on exactly what you want. And that's kind of building out, the dartboard for you. So you say, what would be like a perfect bullseye? So maybe when it comes to tour hacking, approaching and promoting yourself, maybe a perfect bullseye would be selling, 100 CDs. For me, that was sort of like a bullseye. That was very rare, but it happened a few times where I'd sell 100 CDs in a single day doing this. So that might be your bullseye, right? And you kind of know going into it, you're like, okay, I'm not going to hit a bullseye every single time, but that's what I want to aim for, right? And then around the center, you might have a larger ring. And maybe that's instead of hitting like, instead of selling 100 CDs and, connecting with all those people, maybe, you sell uh, 50 CDs. And I mean, that would still be pretty awesome, right? Like if you throw it, you sell 50 CDs, you're meeting a lot of people and you're connecting with a lot of fans, and you're making a good amount of money that you can invest back into your music. So if you sold 50 CDs and that's $10, then that's $500 in a single day. That's pretty cool, especially when you're just kind of starting out and you already have an existing fan base. So then maybe you expand and you say, okay, just on the board. So if I just throw this dart and it hits somewhere on the board, what would that be? And maybe that's, I don't know, the very bare minimum. Maybe that's 5 CDs, 5 or 10 CDs for you. And so then now that you kind of have your dartboard and it's clear, then you just have a much better understanding of exactly what you're aiming for and what you want to do. So yeah, and there's sort of an understanding too, where it's okay. I might not hit 100 CDs. I'm going to aim for it, but if I sell 50 CDs, if I sell 5 CDs, then at least I know that I'm connecting with people. At least I know I'm in the game. I know that I'm trying. I think where a lot of people get stuck is they're scared. It's back to the fear. They're scared of stepping up and throwing the dart and just missing completely. And maybe, they've even done that before in the past. Maybe, you've tried something and it didn't work out and you missed the dartboard completely. And now it's like, oh, like I'm, I don't want that to happen again. I failed. And I think that the best mindset that you can have is realizing, because the individual darts are just different strategies. They're different methods, different ways. So for music, there are a lot of different darts that you could throw to try to have a successful music career. If that was your bullseye, having a sustainable, successful music career, there are a lot of things you could do. You could try this tour hacking method. I think this is perfect for people who want to tour and are kind of at the point where they've built a little bit of a local following and they want to, branch out. But there are other darts. There are things like music licensing. That's a great dart. There are things like house shows, playing house shows, or just, playing shows locally. There are different darts that you can throw in order to get to your goal. But I think where a lot of us get stuck is we spend way too much time just like kind of holding on to the dart and like aiming, thinking like, okay, I'm going to throw this dart. I'm going to do it, but I got to wait for the right moment. I got to wait for the right moment to throw this dart. And I can't do it yet because, I haven't done my my arm stretches. Soon in a couple of months. And, all your friends and your family are like, oh, yep, I'm going to throw this dart. What do you guys think of this dart? It looks pretty cool, right? Like I'm going to end up throwing this pretty soon. And then finally, 6 months later, you throw the dart and it's like, oops, missed the dartboard. It's like, damn it. And, how much more effective would it have been if you would have just been like, okay, I'm going to step up. I'm going to aim with this dart. I'm going to throw it and I'm going to try to hit it. And if I don't hit it, that's okay. I have more darts that I can try. And every single time I throw it, it's going to get closer to the bullseye. So that's kind of the mindset that I want to help you guys with. Netflix just wasn't a good example because Netflix is awesome. Blindfold works though. Yeah, Netflix is pretty cool, but I don't know. I just kind of feel like at the end of my life, the time that I spent watching Netflix, I'm not going to look back on my deathbed and be like, I really wish that I would have watched more Netflix. And this is coming from someone who watches shows on Netflix, but I think that there are more fulfilling, better things that we can be focused on. Okay, so now I'm going to go through the exact step-by-step blueprint. Maybe for those of you who haven't seen the entire workshop, or for those of you who have, I wanted to give you kind of a downloadable resource that you can use as a framework so that after this workshop is done, you can just go through the PDFs. You don't necessarily have to rewatch the videos, and you can just kind of see step-by-step how you can go from the point of maybe having a little bit of a local following, but wanting to be able to branch out, wanting to be able to tour, and needing to know how to grow your fan base in other markets, to go from that place to implementing this tour hacking method and meeting people, approaching them, connecting with them, following up with them, and generating a fan base. And also, hopefully, if you're like us, selling tens of thousands of CDs at the same time. And again, that's just another thing too. Our music wasn't that great when we did this, to be honest. We were pretty young, and we had a lot to learn. We weren't very experienced. So your music doesn't have to be like Bon Jovi. It doesn't have to be incredible or perfect. You don't have to get it perfect. You just have to get started and get going. And ultimately, it kind of comes down to just connecting. It comes down to being in tune with your super fans, the people who are actually going to support you and go to shows. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and give you the exact step-by-step blueprint for how to do this. All right. So I just want to make sure that you guys can actually see this. If you can see this right now and it's working, can you say yes or give me a thumbs up? Sometimes it's frozen before. I don't want that to happen. Yes. Okay, cool. Awesome. Okay, so step by step, how are we going to do this? Tour hacking blueprint. One, you want to just get all your tools ready. So all the things that you need to get ready to do this. Two, you want to research. So you want to start to research and find the right tours that you're going to try this at. Three is the actual process of promoting and approaching people. And then four, you want to have some sort of follow-up process where you can keep connecting with the people that you met over time. All right, so let's dig a little bit deeper into each of these. All right, so the tools that you'll need to do this, first of all, you want to have some sort of special pair of headphones, and you really don't need to have anything special. So I'm going to give you a download of this later so you can have this, but this is a hyperlink to Amazon. There's a pair of Sony headphones that are perfect for doing this because basically the most important thing is you want them to be able to split apart. So these headphones, they're really cheap, and then you split them apart, good enough quality, two people can listen at the same time, and it just makes it way faster and way more efficient when you're meeting people online. So these are the ones that I would recommend. Two, you want to prepare 20 through 30-second clips of your songs. So for this, you can use a few different tools. So if you're a musician, then you might probably be familiar with DAWs, which are basically how you record your songs or your demos. And if you don't use one of these three, then or another DAW, then this is a great resource to have so you can record better quality music, better quality demos. And you can use that to create these clips of your songs. But if you don't have these three and you're just looking for a free resource, there's an application called Audacity that you can use that is free, and you can use it to create 20 to 30-second clips. And I would recommend creating 4 or 5 and testing them out when you talk to people. So you can just play different ones. I would usually just play 1 clip per person unless they ask for more. And if you have 4 or 5, you can kind of cycle between them. And you can also kind of think about if you're at a specific show, like an all-time low show, then you might feel like one or two of your songs are more adapted to that fan base. So you might play them those songs. You also might ask the people online, you might say, what are you in the mood for? Like, do you want to hear a hardcore song, or do you want to hear an acoustic song? And you could also do it like that. Okay, so you need to have something to play the music with. So just really simply, you either have your phone, your iPhone, tablet, or an iPod. Okay, the last thing that you want to have as a tool is an email notebook. So for this, you could either have a physical one, or you could have your iPad or an iPhone, which is basically just so people can write down their emails when you're talking to them. All right, so stage 2 is to research. I don't know why each of these, it's like disappearing. Okay, so when you research, you want to start off by making a list of 5 through 10 of your dream tour artists. So bands that you're a huge fan of. If you got to go on tour with them, it would be a dream. For us, All Time Low was one of those bands, and probably all 5 of our dream tour bands we actually went on tour with. So that was pretty awesome. But yeah, you make a list of 5 to 10 dream tour artists. And once you have those, then you download the app Bands in Town and use it to research nearby shows. So the exact step-by-step for doing that is you want to go to your mobile app store and you want to download the app Bands in Town. In that app, you can search for and you can find those artists that you made a list of, and you can click track on them. And once you click track, then it gives you a big list of suggested artists and similar artists. And it's just awesome. There's you can create a little network in there really quickly. So I would take 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes, and just track as many as possible. At least 50 would be great. But you just want to find artists who are kind of in the same scene. So they don't necessarily have to be perfect fits for your music, but as long as they're in the same scene, then there's a good chance that they're gonna be a good fit for your music. Okay, so once you do that, then you can go to a different screen on Bands in Town that actually shows you the nearby shows. So you click on events and it shows you the nearby shows. So from there, you want to just go through and write down 5 to 10 potential shows, and write down the name of the band, the venue and the location, the date of the show, and on the app, it lets you know how many people have RSVP'd. So you also want to write that down. All right, so once you've done that, then you want to choose at least one show to start with. It's great if you really are feeling adventurous and you want to go travel, then you can plan a little traveling adventure where you follow an entire tour like we did. It's kind of like jumping into the deep end of the pool, which is really fantastic. It's going to change your life even faster if you do that. But if you just need to start, then just choose one show to start. And the things you want to look out for when you choose a show is that you want to make sure that the band is at least musically relevant to you. It doesn't have to be a perfect fit. A lot of times, for example, bringing it back to the keyboard, if you play the exact same note, it doesn't really add a whole lot of harmony. It doesn't add a whole lot of interesting, musicality to it. But you find bands that they aren't the same, but they kind of exist on the fringe. They're sort of harmonious to the original band. And then that is still just as effective, if not even more effective. So you want it to be at least in the same sort of chord, but it doesn't have to be a direct fit. You never have to get any of this stuff perfect. It's better to get started and learn along the way. So musically relevant, the size, it's great. So you can research this on Google. So you can type in the name of the venue and the location and type in capacity, and it should show you what capacity the room is that they're playing at. So I would aim for somewhere in the 300 to 3,000 capacity room range, because if you get bigger than that, if you're trying to do it at amphitheaters, a lot of times they don't actually have a line that forms outside. And really the most important thing with this method is that there's a line, and that the line is filled with people who are predisposed to liking your music. So yeah, the most important thing is that there's going to be a line that forms outside. And this is something that you might learn. You kind of find out where the sweet spot is as you experiment with this a little bit. But this is what I've found to be the sweet spot. Okay, so once you're done researching, then you move on to actually promoting. So actually walking up to people, introducing yourself, and all this fun stuff. So here's a little quick walkthrough. So I went into a lot more detail with this yesterday. So if you need to watch the exact wording that I use, I also in the quick start guide yesterday, I wrote out a full script where you can really see exactly word to word, like what detail I would use and a way that you can do it. But the basic framework for how this works is you want to walk up to the front of the line, because those are the people who are the ultimate super fans. They're the people who got there first. They're the ones who, their chords are playing extra loud. And so by talking to them first, it gives you a chance to get in tune. You can hear the chord because it's louder, and then you're like, okay, I'm going to play something like this. So that just gives you a better opportunity. They're usually a lot more open to talking with you. They're bigger fans. So it's great to start at the beginning. Then the first thing that you want to say when you walk to them is you want to give them a context question. So a context question, for example, is I would walk up and I would say, hey, are you guys here for the All Time Low show? And basically what this does is it just lets them know that it puts it into context why you're talking to them. It's something to do with the All Time Low show. You're not just some sort of hobo off the street that's talking with them. So then it also gives them a chance to say, yes, we are here for that. Okay, so then once you ask them that, then you ask the permission question. So basically, you don't want to just force yourself onto these people. Like, you want to make sure that it's okay that you can talk to them. And if you do this, then they're going to actually welcome you into their conversation. So you just say, awesome. Like, is it all right if I talk to you for a couple minutes while you're waiting in line? And 99 times out of 100, everyone I talk to is like, sure, what's up? Okay, so at that point, you want to introduce yourself because they're wondering, who are you and why are you here? So at this point, you just say, hey, my name's Michael. I play in a band called Paradise Fears, and basically, we're huge fans of All Time Low. And we noticed that all these people are, usually stand in line for the shows, and we thought that one of the best ways that we could connect with people who probably would like our music too would be to actually meet you face to face. So if you're interested, then I have some headphones here with some clips of our music. But I should probably warn you, most people who enjoy it. most people listen to it enjoy it so much that they start to like cry and faint. So I did bring tissues. I have really fast reflexes if you start to faint. Okay, so that was kind of my little comedy bit that I would do because I loved it. It was a funny icebreaker. But anyways, so after you introduce yourself, you want to share your music. So you basically you can ask them what song clips they would like to listen to the most, or you can just hand the 2 headphones to 2 of the friends and they'll listen to it. So at that point, as they're listening to it, you don't want to ask questions necessarily to the people who are listening, but if there are 4 or 5 people in the group and 2 people are listening, then that's a great opportunity for you to chat and connect with the other people in the group. So I'd ask questions like, so which band are you here to see? Or how long have you been a fan of All Time Low for? Or what's your favorite All Time Low song? And all these were things that I knew that we had common ground on because I knew we were both All Time Low fans. I knew that we could talk about that and connect. Okay, so after everybody listens, then that's time to make your offer. So for me, what that looked like is I would say, everyone would listen to it and I'd say, so, what do you think? Did you enjoy the songs? And, 99 times out of 100 say, yeah, we really liked it. Are you on iTunes or Spotify, or how can I listen to more? And that's when I say, okay, if you liked it, if you're interested, we do have the CD. And I went through this entire conversation in the last call, so I won't go through all of it. But basically, this is where you make your offer, and you make it really low pressure, where you're not trying to be all salesy and forcey. You just kind of say, you know what, like, we have this, we really appreciate it if you want to support us. But if you don't, we're happy to give you a CD anyways, just because I think that if you like this band, then you would really like our music. And the reason I'm here isn't because I want to make money as much as the fact that I want to be able to connect with you, because music has really changed my life and I want to do that for other people too. So then after you make your offer, then you want to have some sort of follow-up process. So for example, you can offer them something it's basically some way to ask for their email address in return for something. So you might say, I have a new song that I haven't released yet. Is that something you would be interested in listening to? Or one of the songs that you actually listen to, we haven't released yet. Do you want me to email it to you later? Or you can also say, hey, would you be interested in staying in touch if we come back and play a show here later? And what I found is that the majority of people would say, yeah, absolutely. And then at that point, say, okay, awesome. What's your email address? And that's how you get their email. All right. So this process right here, the follow-up process, is really advanced. And it kind of goes beyond the bounds of this 3-day training. But I'm going to give you a quick overview of it. And like I said, we're not going to be able to dive too deep because it is some really advanced, like, technical stuff. But I'll give you the overview. All right. So when you follow up, basically what you're going to want to do is you're going to take all those emails that you got and add them to your CRM. So your CRM is a website like MailChimp. Let's see, MailChimp. I use Drip. There's a lot of different providers that basically they let you send out emails. It's with this workshop. It's how I sent you emails. It's how I sent the people who subscribe to it emails. So you add them to your CRM. And what you want to do is you want to segment the list. So the way you want to segment it is when you're writing people, when people give you their email address, you want to make sure that you separate the people who bought a CD and the people who didn't buy a CD, first of all. So those are the two big lists. And second of all, you want to segment them. So if you go home every night after you talk to people online and you add them to your list, then you want to make sure that you tag them based on their location, based on what city you met them in. And this is really valuable because then when you're touring later, and you send out an email about your show that's coming out, you don't want to send out an email about a show in Texas if they live in Seattle. So what this allows you to do is if you tag them based on location, then it means that you can be a lot more specific when you send out your emails during the shows. So you only send it to people who would be interested in it. All right, so then the next step is you want to upload your emails that you got to a Facebook custom audience. And again, this is pretty advanced stuff if you're not familiar with it, but on Facebook, you can create a business account for advertising, and you can create a custom audience. And one of your options is to upload an email list. And so this is really, really powerful. A lot of times musicians, they try to boost their posts and they try to spend money on Facebook ads, and they spend thousands and thousands of dollars, and it doesn't work very well because they're just kind of targeting people who might have clicked like on another band's page, but they're not really the super fans. They're not really people who go to shows. So it doesn't really help build their touring fan base. But what's really powerful here is that the people that you met in line for shows, they are the perfect fans. They're the people who go to shows. They're super fans, and it's really focused, and it's the people who are playing their chords extra loud. So having that list is like pure gold. So after you upload them, this is where it gets really cool. You can create a lookalike audience based on the people who bought your CD. So remember, you separated them from buyer and non-buyer. You can do this with both if you want, but the buyer list is going to be even more powerful because the people who bought your CD online, they resonated with you for some reason. It was something about who you are and your music that compelled them to want to support you and be a part of who you are. So basically what creating a lookalike audience does on Facebook is it takes all of those people that you met and it finds all the similarities between them, some things that are just like subconscious, things that you would never think of. And it finds, its algorithm finds more people who fit the same criteria. So people who are similar to the people who bought your CD. And it creates an audience out of them that you can create ads for. So then when you create ads, you're not just sending them to Joe Schmo and paying thousands of dollars for it. You can create like a $10 ad and just target people that are going to resonate with you in your music. Okay, so then actually, what do you actually target them with when you create an ad? So one of the best, this is just one of the things you can do, but this is one of the best things that I've found so far that right now works really well, and it's called free plus shipping funnel. So basically what you can do is, and there's again, this is really advanced stuff. Maybe if you guys are interested, we can create some sort of follow-up training and dive into some of this stuff. But basically what you can do is you can create a free plus shipping funnel. So what it would look like is you'd create some sort of ad that you would send to the lookalike audience of people who are really likely to buy your CD. And in the ad, you would say something along the lines of like, "Hey, how's it going? I'm this musician, and here's some clips of my songs." It would kind of be like virtual tour hustling in a sense, virtual tour hacking, where you're meeting people. And you say, "Hey, if you're interested, you can listen to a couple of my songs," and they might listen to it. And then you say, "So I actually bought, a couple hundred of these CDs, and I can send them to you for free. It's not going to cost anything. All you need to do is cover shipping and handling." So that's what free plus shipping and handling means. And when people go through that offer, you can actually have it set up automatically. So you don't have to print out any CDs yourself. They're just printed out on demand using a special online software company that prints out your CDs for you. And basically what you can do is, so there's no upfront cost for you, but you're generating a ton of fans. You're generating a bunch of people who are going to like your music, and people who are buying your CDs and getting them, for free plus $5 for shipping and handling. And those people get introduced to your online social media pages. They go through your email marketing funnels, which again is some more advanced stuff. I don't know if you guys have, dove into any of that yet. Maybe that's some stuff for a future training. But this is like an entry point, and that the people you're targeting are going to be really predisposed to actually wanting to get your CD, and you can give it to them pretty much for free, and you can create a huge email list and create a huge following doing that, because you're not spending any money, because you're making it all back instantly from people who go through your funnel. And so you can do that. You can create a special ad like that for your lookalike audience, and you can also create it for the people that you met in line but didn't buy a CD. Maybe they just didn't have $10 on them or whatever. You can still send out this ad and you say, hey, like, if you want a free CD, and when they're scrolling through their news feed, they're going to see your face and be like, whoa, hold on, that's crazy. I recognize that person. And then you can also create ads that specifically target people who bought your CD, and maybe you send them some sort of other offer. Maybe you have a Patreon page and you send it to the people who bought a CD, and then that's a way that you can get them tied in there. So there's so many potential opportunities for you once you have this email list. And honestly, it's going to be different for each person. I do one-on-one consulting, and one thing that I've noticed is that every single person I talk to is different and has a different situation, and I've had different advice for. So I know that there's not like a cookie cutter, one size fits all approach, but all of this, hands down, is the most powerful thing that we ever did for our career. And I think that it's really going to help you if you're willing to give it a shot. And then there's some more advanced stuff. Everybody's different, so you might end up tweaking some of this stuff. You might end up changing around things based on what works for you. But this is the overall outline. So I really hope that this helps you. I'm going to give you the download of this for free. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing here and get back. Sammy says, I tried to hand out CDs at a convention. I got turned on a lot because people didn't have a CD player. Any other ways? Should I just promote iTunes link instead? So a lot of it comes down to your approach and how you're doing it. I mean, if people are at a convention, this all comes down to the line. Like, if people are walking around or they have momentum, then you're going to have a big challenge getting them to stop and to take your CD. So if you're at a convention and people are walking around and you're walking around saying, hey, take my CD, then a lot of times it's less about the CD. I mean, it's true that people don't listen to CDs anymore, so it's strange. I don't know if you've seen the other trainings, Sammy, but people actually still buy CDs in this situation. And I know it doesn't make a lot of sense because people don't actually listen to CDs anymore. But when people go to shows and they're the right fan and you've made a connection with them, it's more about, I think, having something physical to remember you by, and it's because they like you and it's because they want to support you and your music. So it is good. You can also share Spotify and iTunes links. And again, like I said, a lot of this stuff, it might, you can experiment, go up to the dartboard and throw and see what works for you, see what sticks, see what gets you closer to the bullseye. But from my experience, the best way to actually, monetize your music career when you're first starting out is doing this. And people still buy CDs if you do it in the approach that I just outlined. Yeah, no problem, Sammy. How do we get them to send money for shipping and handling? PayPal? So again, that's kind of part of the advanced stuff that would take a long time to explain all the tech stuff. Maybe if you guys are interested, I could create some training further down the line where I can help you kind of go through that. But you can set it up through PayPal. There's also a payment integration software called Stripe that a lot of people use. But you would set it up through another website called either Lead Pages or ClickFunnels. And basically what that does is you can create a page where people can enter their name and their email address. It's called like an opt-in page. And they do it in return. You have a video on that page talking about your free plus shipping offer. And they can enter in their email and they can enter in their name. And then on the next page, they can enter in their either their credit card number or their PayPal information so that they can actually get the CD shipped to them. And there's another company that you can use. There's a couple of them that actually handle the fulfillment, the shipping and the fulfillment. So that's also a part of it. Okay, so let's do some hot seats. So this is for anyone who's feeling particularly brave and wants to come on live and just wants some like direct help in their situation with their music career, kind of implementing this. So if that's you, then you can go to the bottom left corner. If you're on your computer, you go to the bottom left corner, you can click start video and unmute. And yeah, let's do this. Someone's got to be the brave one. Let's go, Sammy or Maria. Even if you don't have any questions, let's just hop on here live. We'll talk a little bit about your music and your career, and just kind of get some clarity on what your challenges are, what you're struggling with, and how we can help you get what you want. I want to ask a question, but I look awful. No, you don't, Sammy. You look fantastic. Don't let anyone tell you anything otherwise. No, you probably just mean you haven't like showered or something today. I understand. I mean, what you can do is, yeah, I think you can just put on the mic, Sammy. You can just click the unmute button and you can just talk. Sammy's actually just like walking around her house naked, like in a bathrobe. Just like, I can't go live on here. What's going on? Okay, 1 second. Cool. About to go outside. Haha. Yeah, that would be kind of awkward. All right, so we're waiting for Sammy to hop on here, unless someone else wants to hop on here first, and then Sammy can go second. Hey, I hear something.
Hi.
Hey, how's it going?
All right, so good. How's it going with you?
Pretty good. So what's up?
So I've made connections with bigger bands, and they follow up with me. So I feel like that's a great tool, but at the same time, I'm struggling to connect with other people, even going up to people in line. Are there any other ways, like through Twitter or anything, that you would suggest to build up a following on social media?
Okay, so you're how long have you been doing music for? What's your situation right now?
Well, I've been recording since I was 10 years old, and I'm turning 21 this year.
Awesome.
But I've changed my sound a lot. But right now I'm going to be working on my EP, so I'm going to be having something to promote soon. But I feel like I'm so close, yet so far at the same time, because I have people like Kellen Quinn, Maddie Mullins, and people like that who actually like my music and listen to it, but I have like no fan base.
Okay, so basically what you're saying is you're at the point where you have good quality music. You've been recording music basically like your entire life since you're 10 years old, and you have some connections where you've actually heard from people who have an established fan base and really like your music, but you haven't quite learned how to establish a fan base yourself yet. So you're just wondering, is there a way to leverage those people that you've met, or what would be the best way to build that fan base?
Yes.
Okay. So I think one of the most powerful tools that you have is your ability to connect with people like you're mentioning, people who already have established fan bases, especially people who in a way are that harmonious chord. And so what I would recommend, if you already have those connections, I don't know exactly how close you are with those people, but I mean, it's great to keep talking with them and to ask for their advice. If you reach out to them and say like, hey, can I ask for your advice on something? And you ask the exact same question that you just asked me, then I think a lot of those people would be really excited and really willing actually to help you with that. And one of the things that I think would help a lot would be collaborating with those people. A lot of times with cover artists on YouTube and things. You can do like collaborations where you can work together, or you can even write a song together. You can create music together, collaborate in some way. So I think that if you already have those connections, that's a great place to dive into. But when it comes to actually growing your fan base, just kind of organically on your own, I think that starting with Twitter or Facebook is sort of a mistake, because early on, when you don't already have an existing fan base, especially, I mean, it's just really hard. A lot of those services, their algorithm is just set up so that it's really hard to organically reach people. And I'm talking about Facebook a little bit here now, is that they're actually limiting the organic reach. So like you really have to pay in order to reach fans. And that's okay if you're paying and you have some sort of system in place where you're actually making money back from when you're paying them. But if you don't already have a clear objective or a clear like funnel or something that directly, because to be totally honest, you're not going to make enough money to support yourself with your music just through streaming or iTunes. Unless you're getting like hundreds of millions of streams, 1 million streams on Spotify is $5,000. So you need other ways to build that out. With this method, with this like meeting people online, I think that even if you tried this before and you've tried it with like the CD and people weren't necessarily interested, if it was at a festival, if it wasn't like at a line with people and you didn't introduce yourself in that kind of way, and where you actually connected with them and listened to a couple of songs first, then I still think that that's the number one way that in your position you can kind of grow that fan base organically. And once you have more of those fans, you can also do local shows. If you're starting out and you want to build more of a local fan base, you go out to different venues around you and you do this, and you just meet people online, whether you're selling something or not. Just putting yourself in front of those people and connecting with them is a really great tool for networking. And one of my one-on-one consulting students didn't have a CD, just had like Spotify and a digital, I think he had like Bandcamp or something. And he went out and he did this, and he came back to me and he was like glowing, and he was really excited because he had met a lot of people who I think were perfect fits for his music and actually really enjoyed it. And he actually met like a Grammy Juno award-winning producer who he still keeps in touch with nowadays. So the way I see it is, it's a great way to generate an income so you can invest back into your music career. But more than that, it's a great way to get in tune with the right fans. So it's important that you find the right tours or the right shows that are coming, that there's actually going to be a line outside. But sometimes if they're sold out, then that means that it's going to be way better. But just the process of like meeting those people and connecting with them and sharing your music, and you can try it out yourself. You can experiment with Spotify or iTunes if you feel more comfortable doing that than selling a CD. But I just know that people actually do still buy CDs. Another band, A Summer High, literally just used this, I think it was less than a year ago, and they sold 283 CDs per day. There's like 4 of them, and they did it. And so people still buy CDs, and it's all about that connection and being able to meet them face to face. That's the strongest connection you can have with someone. And I just think that checking out purely on Twitter, and it's also getting that connection too, it also boosts your social media naturally and organically to a point where it's like, I think it's hard when you're online and you don't have some sort of quote unquote social proof. There aren't a lot of people who like your page or whatever. Then it's sort of like a restaurant. If you're driving down the street and you're thinking like, oh, which restaurant should we go to? And there's one that has like a lot of people, it looks like it's really buzzing, and then there's one that there's like nobody there. Then for better or for worse, we usually kind of assume that one that's more empty, there's something like it's not as good, it's lower quality. So I feel like starting out with just the social stuff, you can scream and scream and shout, it's like, oh, we're great, from that restaurant. But then people still aren't necessarily going to come check it out. But coming back to your specific example with like your friends or the people who are in established bands, that could kind of be like, these different restaurants being like, hey, this new restaurant just came out. It's sort of new, but it's awesome. So definitely go check it out. And they can drive people to your restaurant. So that can be a great place to go. But I just think even if you do that, I still think that starting out with meeting the right fans face to face is going to be the best thing that you can do in your situation. Does that make sense? I just talked for a really long time without letting you talk.
No, you're fine. And I do have a local fan base. I'm well known in my city that I live in and the surrounding cities. So I probably could pull a crowd for a local show, but anything past that, probably not.
Okay, gotcha. So when you say like you already have a local following, but you just said like I could probably pull a crowd. Do you not play a lot of local shows, or if you have, then how much of a crowd can you usually draw?
Well, right now it's actually just me in the band. The other people dropped out, so I haven't been able to play this new music yet. But I kind of headlined a show at a local festival, and there was like 1,000 people there.
Wow,
But
that's cool.
probably not all for me, of course. So I'm not quite sure exactly how many people I could pull. But I know everyone knows me. They know I sing, and whether they like me or not, they know who I am as far as my sound.
Right. So also for your specific situation, it sounds like you're kind of in the right place where when there are bands going on tour nearby, it would probably be helpful to reach out and get in touch with the venues and with the promoters and people who are booking those shows, because they might be looking for local talent like you. That it would be a little bit better if you had the proof of like, you had played a headlining show and you had drawn out a certain amount of people. Because with the festival, like you said, like it's hard to know exactly how many of those people came out for you. But yeah, I still think that when you're starting out and you're in your position, just building a core fan base, a local following, building that email list is really important too. So when you do play some of those local shows, you can send out an email to them beforehand and say, hey, I'm playing this show. People on Twitter, you'll maybe see 1 out of 1,000, tweets from people, depending on how many people you follow. People are just way more distracted. It's harder to cut through on social media like Twitter or Instagram, as opposed to email, where people actually generally read their emails, and it's a direct line, it's direct access to them. So if you have their email addresses, then you have the power to be able to actually get their attention and to talk to them and let them know that you're playing these shows nearby. So the number one thing I would focus on is, one, building your email list, and two, starting to, if you don't have a band yet, that's pretty important. If that's what you want. I mean, if you want to be a singer songwriter, then you don't necessarily need a band as much to play live. But if that's what you want, then probably the first step is starting to network and find those people. And again, just meeting these people online for the shows. This is where people go to be all about music. So like, their chords are playing extra loud when they're at those shows, and you're going to network with a lot of people. So when you go to those shows, you actually might just keep that in your mind. Be like, I'm looking for, some more bandmates. I'm looking for some talent. And a lot of the people you meet, some of them will be like, oh, you know what? Like I actually have, a friend who plays guitar and is amazing, and his band just, disbanded, and his band disbanded, and he's looking for, a new artist. And, so you met, you shared the music. There's so much that comes out of doing that, out of that networking. And with the music industry, so much of it's about who you know, and it's not about what you know. That it's still really valuable, even if you're not selling anything, just to go out and do that.
All right. Yeah, I plan to be touring like. Yeah, it makes sense. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm happy to help. So you're planning on touring
like in 3 years, because my brother's a producer, so he knows live musicians. It's just finding ones that you kind of click with and that like the style of music you're going in. And I was just kind of like overwhelmed by the thought of all the things that you have to put together and the steps to actually touring.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, there's a lot. You know what? There's so much that you can focus on. And there's a lot of different roles that kind of help out a little bit later on. Like managers and booking agents and labels if you go that route. But ultimately, like the number one thing that drives your success as a musician is your audience, like your fan base and your connection with them. So you don't need to worry about all that stuff. The touring, actually, especially when you're earlier on, if you don't already have that existing fan base, then touring can actually be a big bad thing. Like it might give you experience with playing shows, but you might lose a lot of money because if you don't already have an existing fan base and you're just trying to go out and play, a headlining tour, then there's not a whole lot of there's not a whole lot of growth that's happening. But then again, if you're opening for a bigger band on tour, then that's a great way to build that connection. And this method, meeting people online, is even more valuable if you're actually playing at the show, because then you can be like, oh yeah, like I'm actually playing here tonight, but I just before the show I like to come out here and meet people face to face. And that's what we did. So before we went on tour with All Time Low, we were doing this on their tour, and we were doing it on a few other big tours, and they were our dream. Like, millions and millions of fans. We never would have thought that we could actually, meet them or go on tour with them. And because of the connections that we made, because of, the impact, because of the CDs that we sold and the fan base that we built doing that, they actually decided to bring us on tour with them. And so, did we stop doing this once they brought us on tour with them? Absolutely not. Like before each show, we would be out there meeting people, and we, sold a lot of CDs, made a lot of money that we could, reinvest back into our music, and connected with a lot of people. And I remember one show where we actually almost missed. You don't want to do this, but we almost missed the show because we were out. We had the wrong set list. We thought that we were going on at like 8:00, and really we were going on at 7. And I remember we were out there meeting people, and there was like 5 minutes to 7, and then our tour manager Grant runs out, and he's like, "Guys, you're on stage in 5 minutes." Like, oh shit.
Oh my gosh.
So we run in there, we run backstage, we get all our instruments, and we run onto stage in front of, there's like 4,000 people, and it's just wild. So you don't want to do that, but it is still so valuable to be able to connect with people. And that's why, we haven't this last year and a half, I got married. I'm starting a family soon. Like, other guys are doing other things. We're split around the country. We're still, a band, but we don't really tour. We used to tour all the time, and now we kind of have, new things that we're doing. And even though that's happening, a year and a half since we've released music or toured, we went out and we played 3 shows. We played Chicago, New York, and Boston over New Year's, and we're playing sold out shows. And most bands, can't do that. If they tried to pull something like that, they wouldn't be able to bring in their fan base. But the reason that we were able to is because of the connection, because of the fact that we had actually, met a lot of these people, and we'd actually gotten to know them. And it was kind of like roots in a tree. Like if the roots are in the soil, it's a lot harder to pull them out, as opposed to, if just very shallow roots and big branches, but then, a storm comes and it blows it all out. So you want to go the approach where, especially when you're starting out and you're building the roots, you have great quality music. So that puts you in a great position to do this. Like if you have music where once people listen to it, they're kind of blown away. They're like, wow, this is really good. And all you need to do is get people to listen to it. Then there's no better way to do that than actually meeting them face to face and just connecting with them. And when they're at a show, they're also expecting, like they're in the state of mind where they are all about music. So yeah, I know I've really been drilling down on this point that like, doing this is a good thing, but I say it because I genuinely believe that, for you, in addition to all these other things you have going on, the number one thing you want to focus on is building that connection with the right fans. So I just see this being a really good fit for you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Cool. So does anyone else feel brave and want to come on the hot seat? Maria says, that's awesome, girl. I struggle with the same thing. Mm. Yes, what's up?
Question for you. So you obviously talk about selling CDs. People like the tangible item in their hand.
Mm.
Have you ever thought about like a USB drive? I've worked with a couple artists who have put music on a drive, given that so they still have a tangible item, but they can also use that for transferring other files and things like that. What are your thoughts on that?
Mm. So I think it's something you can try experimenting with. We actually tried a few different. We tried download cards. We tried the USB drives. We tried CDs, and for us, CDs worked the best. I think maybe part of it was like the artwork that came with the CD, um, and that they were just kind of like universally accepted. Like people understand what CDs are, even if they're not actually listening to them. Because to be honest, whether it's a CD or it's a USB drive, most people nowadays aren't going to be listening on either of those. Like what they're going to be doing is they're just going to go to Spotify or Apple Music and they're just going to stream them. And there are some cases where that might not be true, but for a lot of people, that's where they actually listen to their music conveniently. So then it becomes a point of like, I feel like that's one of the reasons that vinyl has made a big comeback too, is because it's like what has the coolest vintage kind of artwork, what has the coolest memorabilia to hold. So for example, if that thumb drive was like a freaking cool thumb drive and it was like a brand centered one where it had the band's name on it or like it looked really cool, then actually I think that could be super successful. But ultimately I think it comes down to not necessarily convenience when it comes to what you're selling online, but more about just kind of like the cool vintage tangible feeling to it.
Another thing, I like what you talked about the artwork because we live in a visual society. That I think when they actually ultimately look you up on Spotify, recognizing the album cover when they search the name, because it'll bring up multiple different results, also could make it quick and easy for them to find you easier.
Yeah, that does make sense. So do you have any other questions?
Yep, I think that's good. Or I guess
Awesome.
one thing, you talked about email lists. Did you ever branch into phone numbers and doing like the text message and download codes through text messaging and mass text like software?
We sort of like half dived into it. We also kind of half dived into email. And that's one regret that I had because I think that it is really powerful, especially nowadays. But I think that SMS or message marketing can be really effective because it's probably even more direct than email. Like people are actually getting it. But what I found, I also tested asking for people's phone numbers in line, like as opposed to asking for their email addresses, and it felt like there was a little bit more of resistance. There was a little bit more friction, a little bit weird. But that could have just came down to the way that I phrased it because I hadn't really refined it yet. So you might be able to find a way if you make it natural enough to ask for their phone number. Then I think that it's a more effective medium for reaching people directly. But I think that it might have a little bit more friction. People might be a little bit more weird about giving out their phone number as opposed to their email address. And also with phone number, I'm not 100% sure. You probably can do this on Facebook, but I know with email addresses, you can upload those to Facebook custom audience. You can create a lookalike audience. But with phone numbers, I'm not like 100% sure that you can do that. But knowing Facebook, I think that you actually probably can. So awesome. Cool. Well, hey, thank you so much, everyone, for watching this 3-day workshop and helping me kind of create the beta class for this. It's been really helpful. I really appreciate all your questions and your comments. Like I mentioned, I posted the link here in the chat. Otherwise, there'll be a button below the video where you can sign up for a free one-on-one consulting session. Just use the code first-free, and you'll get it for free. And that's only going to be available for a little bit, since usually I do charge more money for it. But for 5 or 10 of you, I'm happy to do that, especially if you're interested. Like you've been watching this workshop and you have a big question or a big challenge, or you want to use this method, this tour hacking thing, and you want to go out and do it. Then I really want to help you. I want to kind of give you the specific guidance that you need, because I know everyone isn't the same. Everyone has their different situations. So I'd be happy to help you in more of a direct, one-on-one kind of situation. All right. So the last thing. So officially, this 3-day workshop is done. Actually, I'm gonna read your comments first. Can you send us the coupon later? I'll try to bring the other people from my band for the one-on-one. Haha, it's been really helpful for us too. Awesome. Yeah, maybe what I'll do is I'll put the coupon on the replay page. So this entire thing is going to be available until tomorrow night is when the replays come down, because that's when I'm going uh, to create the actual course from it. Yeah, no problem. I'm happy to help. So officially, this workshop is done. I hope that this was really valuable to you. Basically, I was taking everything from our entire experience of being a band. I'm trying to pour it into you and just help you as much as you can, because this is what I'm passionate about. I'm kind of like a father now to other bands, and it makes me really happy to see you grow up and succeed. So any way that I can help, please feel free to shoot me an email. Take advantage of that one-on-one call, even if you're not 100% sure. If you're feeling kind of lost, you're not sure where to go next. Like, I'm still happy to help you out. It doesn't have to be something with tour hacking specifically. Uh, I'd like to get to know everyone's music, so if you guys could send me the links, I'd appreciate it. Yeah, that would be really cool. You know what? I actually have a Facebook community that I'm starting. I think it's called the Tour Hacking Community. So if you want to share each other's music, or you want to listen to each other's music, maybe we can kind of get something started up on there. It's on Facebook. If you type in The Modern Musician, then it should come up with the page, and then on the page it should come up with the group, or maybe Tour Hacking Community. If you type that in, you might be able to find something. Awesome. Okay, so the 3-day workshop is officially done. Thank you so much for helping me and tuning into this, and I hope that it was really valuable for you. Tomorrow, I'm actually doing something kind of special. It's going to be a webinar that's not mine officially, but it's with a new friend that I met. So I know for a lot of people who might be watching this, tour hacking can seem kind of like a big step, and it's a little bit overwhelming. And I know that not everybody's in the situation where they're already playing local shows, and they already have a local fan base, and they already are making, let's say, like $1,000 per month with their music. So I made this new friend named Greg, and he created a course called 1K with Music, which is basically designed especially for people who are in that situation where they're just they haven't started playing shows locally enough to the point where they're making $1,000 per month with their music. So if you're watching this right now and that's you and that's your situation, and you want to learn how to get to that point, then tomorrow we're going to be doing a free webinar, which is basically a lot like this. To give you full disclosure, like at the end of the webinar, one, he gives you a PDF download that kind of gives you a framework so that you can use what you learned in the webinar. But then afterwards, he opens up an offer for the 1K with Music course. Which is like a paid course. So I just want to be like upfront about that, not try to deceive you or anything. But I mean, the course is really valuable, but the webinar itself is, in a lot of ways, it's like the best parts of the course. And he kind of takes them out and he teaches the main framework, and he gives you the download for it. So I really like him. I think that it's complementary with what I'm teaching, because tour hacking probably isn't the right thing for you unless you're at that point where you're already building a bit of a local fan base. You already have, you've already been making $1,000 per month with your music or more, and you're just looking to branch out and you're looking to expand it. And if you're not at that place yet, then I really think that what he teaches would be a good asset for you. So if that's something that you'd be interested in, I'm going to send out an email probably with the last update. So the last update where I send you the replay to this call, and I send you the PDF download of the framework for the tour hacking workshop. In that email, I'll include a link to the webinar if you're interested in signing up for that and learning how to make $1,000 with music per month if you're not already doing that. Okay, so that's it for the tour hacking workshop. Again, thank you so much. Hope this was helpful. If you haven't yet, then go ahead and click that link in the chat box to schedule your phone call. And I'm looking forward to talking with some of you one-on-one and helping you. And I'm looking for, please let me know if you go out and you do this and you're having awesome results from it. Please shoot me an email. Let me know. I'll probably feature you in my teaching, because I want to share the story of this working. I've already worked with some people who have had some pretty awesome results, but I would love to add more names to it so that when people come to a page to get the actual course, this is the beta, but when they get the actual course, I want them to see like, 10 different musicians, different bands who are like, hey, I know it sounds kind of crazy, but it's legit. People still buy CDs. It's weird, but I sold, 1,500 CDs in the course of a couple of weeks. And, so this works. So I would love if that was you. So if, you need more help or direction, I'm here for you if you want to set up a free call. And if you do go out and do this and you have a bunch of success, let me know. Just shoot me an email at michael@modernmusician.me. Maria says, sure, I'll probably be the first person who does that here in Brazil. Yeah, that's going to be really awesome. I would love to have a story from you, Maria. All right, cool. Well, hey, have an awesome rest of your Sunday night, and I'll talk to some of you again pretty soon.